who doesn't
so
think we should
no
be
side's
investing
arguing with that. But what about structural savings to pay for that? Why were they not looked at, or were they looked at and you decided not to go ahead with them?
Well, what we've looked at carefully is the fact that right now, driving economic growth is the most important way to secure Australia's strength out of the COVID-19 pandemic, to secure our strength in recovering from the COVID-induced recession we faced last year, and that is the best way to have confidence that we can deliver and fund those services for the future. And the analysis that has clearly been undertaken does show from, be it from the experts in our own economic agencies of the Treasury, the Reserve Bank, or those international ratings agencies, that they see Australia's position as being a sustainable one for the future, and that we will conclude.
If we lose that AAA credit
budget
rating, would you see that as a failure if that happened on your watch?
Well, I'm not expecting that to happen, Tom, and the ratings agencies themselves issued their own statements in their own words last week, in which they were very positive about the government strategy and this budget and the approach that we are taking. And they acknowledge that a number of our assumptions are still quite conservative, such as the iron ore price that we were talking about. Even in terms of the unemployment forecasts, the assumptions and projections built into the budget through Treasury are a little bit more conservative than those of the Reserve Bank. You know, we are taking a careful approach in all of these ways.
Let me ask you this. The medium-term fiscal framework adopted by Peter Costello was for a balanced budget. Are you aiming to return to that at some stage? Because that's not in this budget, is it?
Look, over the medium term, we certainly hope to see budget improvements that ultimately give us a position to work back towards balance. But that is going to take some time. This has been the biggest economic shock. Tom, I can't put a fixed date on that at present. We're dealing with great global uncertainty right now, and we are facing in the Eurozone a double-dip recession. We're facing COVID spreading not just through India, but through many other countries right here in our region in ways that we haven't seen before. And that is certainly threatening aspects of the global economic recovery. Right. In Australia, the most important factor is to continue to keep COVID suppressed, which is allowing our economy to function in far more normal ways than much of the rest of the world. And so we've got to get through these globally uncertain times that are the biggest worldwide challenge that we've seen in an economic sense since World War II or the Great Depression.
So on the budget repair aspect, if that ultimately does involve savings and significant ones, would you take them to an election, not just announce them after an election?
Look, Tom, certainly I want to be very clear. We will honour the promises that we make to the electorate. At the last election, we promised that we would fully fund the NDIS, that we would respond comprehensively to the Aged Care Royal Commission, that we would take action in relation to suicide prevention. In this budget, we're delivering on those promises. We're fully funding the NDIS to the tune of an additional $13 billion. We're delivering $17.7 billion into aged care, $2.3 billion into mental health and suicide prevention. We're doing that whilst keeping the debt lower than had been forecast before, but we will absolutely honour those commitments we're making into the future.
Yeah, but sometimes it's what's not said, and we remember what happened in a previous government with that. So if there were major separate savings somewhere else, would you take them to an election, tell the voters about them, rather than just announce them after an election?
Certainly. Look, we are being very transparent in terms of our strategy and our approach. Of course, we would wish that we didn't face the debt pressures that were there, as we would wish that we didn't face a global pandemic. But respond to it we've had to do. We've done so in ways that we think are responsible and measured. It's been given a tick of approval from global rating agencies and other economic forecasters and commentators the world over in terms of Australia's response to date. And they've all indicated they believe Australia's position is a sustainable and strong one for the future.